Breaking news! Oh, my name is Potato, and this is some breaking news. Alice is having a breakdown, and so am I. And that is why I'm doing this crazy voice. Welcome to the Xbox The Box supplementary news thing. We're talking about this Xbox exclusivity thing that's been going around, which I didn't want to talk about, but it seems to be becoming more and more prevalent, and it's spreading like wildfire, and I'm like, well, I guess we got to talk about it. My name is Potato for Potato Pro Wrestling, and I'm with my good friend, Alice. How you doing, Alice?
Hi. Pronouns she, they, and at the moment it's just like, well, I mean, there's some like a rumor mill, and they're suggesting, like, I first heard about like the PlayStation podcast, which is in PS Which was, and say like, oh, well, there's like the top 3 games coming to it, and they thinking of Killer Instinct, Master Chief Collection, and of course, Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, spoilers for their podcast, but yes, those are the 3 games.
but that's when I found out, like, oh, the Microsoft was thinking of giving the games over, and apparently some of them come over. It's just like, oh, reckon that Ori or Hi-Fi Rush and those other games, those used to be exclusive to Xbox, could be coming over to PlayStation. And then you just sent me the tweet, which says that it's a basis through because someone who's pretending to be Cinemax is actually not part of like Cinemax or Microsoft. Yeah. So
it's several steps. So a couple of weeks ago, we had the rumor that Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves were coming to PlayStation and Nintendo, and everyone thought that was going to be in the state of play. It never happened. And then I was like, okay, that's done. Fine, we're moving on with our lives. And then like today or yesterday, someone said, oh, Starfield's now been confirmed to be coming to Xbox. Oh, coming from Xbox to PlayStation. It's already on Xbox. After the DLC drops. And then there's some people say that this is a complete hoax and complete bollocks. The only thing that gives me any credence towards this is that he said this would be announced next week. And Phil Spencer's just come out saying, we've heard what you're saying. We'll tell you more next week, which is concerning. Because if it's not true, then why wouldn't he just come out and say it's not true? That's what worries me. And he mentioned next week, the guy who spread the rumor, and Phil Spencer also mentioned next week. So that's, again, red flags. Concerning. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous because I know that these are like rumors, and I think the problem is like, people are already buying on there. Like, YouTube community literally exploded because, like, there's from YouTubers, especially Halo YouTubers. Like, I noticed this morning, there's like footage gates that found that said, I think it would be quite nice for it to come to PlayStation because there's rumors of Master Chief Collection coming over it. And then the comment section, like, for the Halo channel, you have a comment section agreeing with this, thinking this will, like, boost the player base. Like, this... But no, that's not a good idea. And then I just looked around, and I even noticed that Mint Blitz, who usually allows 2 days to react to the news, has came out with a new video and saying, no, I'm not kidding. This is actually, Halo could be coming to PlayStation. And that is when the whole thing exploded. People are believing the rumors. And even if it turns out to be false, they're spreading it like wildfire, and it caused Xbox to come over that they could have like be right there to deny the rumors. But because of that tweet to say that they're doing the business update next week, that is really suggesting as if like...
There is some truth.
Yeah, there is some truth to it.
Oof, that's so concerning. So this morning... So I'm just going to keep people up to date. So this morning you sent me a text message saying we should do a video about the exclusives going to PlayStation. And I'm like, do we have to? I'm fed up of talking about it because ever since we bought Bethesda, it's been like, ooh, is Starfield going to be on PlayStation? Ooh, is Indiana Jones going to be on PlayStation? Ooh, or are the Activision games going to be on? I don't care if they're going to PlayStation. I'm an Xbox gamer. Can you stop talking about it? And basically the whole story, every time a new Xbox game is announced, the like Blade going to PlayStation, we have this story every single time, and it's getting really annoying and repetitive. And I was like, I'm not going to give this any credence. I'm not going to listen to it at all. And then as soon as I saw the Phil Spencer tweet, then I'm like, okay, maybe there is something in this. And I'm hoping that if he does come out and he explains what's going on, I'm hoping at least we get some clarity. Because it does get on my nerves every time that Xbox announces a new game. We have the question, is it going to be on Xbox? Is it going to be on PlayStation? Like, I would like to just know for sure what platform stuffs are coming to when they're announced. I'm fed up of having to speculate about if it's going to PlayStation or not. It gets on my nerves, to be honest. Like, as I said, I didn't want to talk about this, but I feel like Phil Spencer sending out that tweet is kind of maybe give me some red flags and some concerns. And I'm really worried, honestly. What do you think?
Well, in my honest opinion, it's just like, I know this is like been a huge talk, and I'm not that worried about it, but I do legitimately see this thing that I know the seen as a bench sitter of late. You'll probably assume that, but when I'm dealing with this whole news, it's just thinking like, oh, like if this ever happens, that will actually screw up the whole thing, because like once the Xbox games go over to PlayStation, you said it's likely that Xbox could fall because they're giving their exclusives over to PlayStation. That might be the wild thing, because it only announces a certain games will come over it, and we could likely to see this happening for the Halo, Gears of War, Starfield, and even Hi-Fi Rush, where it's been rumoured it could be coming over to Switch and the PlayStation, which could make sense because it's made up of Bethesda and it's been in development for 6 years. But Starfield seen on the PlayStation is ridiculous, because the Bethesda games or ZeniMax games like Fallout 3 or Skyrim didn't run pretty well on the PlayStation 3.
No.
And it just almost seems like, oh, we can bring it over to PlayStation. But ever since the Bethesda is bought by Microsoft, they declared that Starfield would be an Xbox and PC exclusive. But then it's only for them to turn around and say like, oh, it's coming over to PlayStation 5. And they're like, that's not right. But as I was like thinking to myself, it's just like, well, if this ever comes over to PlayStation 5 and is followed by people saying that this is a great game now, it's better than ever and is one of the best games of all time, then I would be literally laughing my butt out, because people have been like screwing it.
10 out of 10 now it's on PlayStation. Now it's on PlayStation, we're going to give it a 10. Oh, that's 7? We were joking. Now it's on PlayStation, it's a 10 out of 10. Masterpiece, best game ever. And then Spencer and Phil and Davey are all going to be like, oh yeah, it's a great game. I never said it was a bad game.
Well, I did listen to their podcast, and Davey and Spencer literally slammed it for being a copy and paste and think it's bad.
Which is not.
But then, if they just turn around and say, oh, actually, I'm looking forward to playing Starfield on PlayStation 3. And like,
PlayStation 3?
Yeah, it's just like you have some kind of bias against anything Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, so it might be dramatic to say that this might be the end of Xbox as a console maker, but it really could be. Essentially, Xbox as a brand is not strong enough for its only exclusive, I guess, to be Game Pass. I mean, that is what you're selling the console on, is the fact that you could get Game Pass, right? PlayStation has PlayStation Plus. It's nowhere near as good, but it is an alternative. And Nintendo has their online store as well, with the online, the virtual console stuff. So Game Pass is not strong enough on its own to hold up the Xbox. They need exclusive games. Like, would you have Netflix if The Crown and Stranger Things and all that ended up going on Disney Plus? Like, it doesn't make sense to do that. Well, I don't get the logic.
Well, I think
it's killing it.
I think the logic at the moment is just like, you used to own these movies and you got them, and then suddenly it's not like you're being sold to different streaming services, as commented by the subscription videos, it's just like you have this content that's used to be on one streaming service and it moves over to another streaming service. Like you used to have Spider-Man films on like Netflix, now it just ends up on Disney Plus, and it just seems like as if it just hops between different services, and it's just almost as if it expects you to subscribe to many subscription services at all, which I think of the people are like saying like, it's just probably easier to see Xbox and PlayStation, but no, that's just not right. I mean,
not everyone is going to be like me, who I own a PC, I have a Switch, I have a PS5, I have an Xbox. A lot of people have like not as into gaming as I am, and not as nerdy, and they'll be like, I can afford one console, or I'm going to play one console. So why would you buy an Xbox over a PlayStation if all the Xbox games are also on PlayStation? You need to sell. Game Pass is not enough to keep people buying Xboxes over PlayStations. It's basically, is this the end of them as console developers? Are they just going to focus on PC and mobile? Like, because the thing with the ABK deal is that they bought ABK because they wanted King and they wanted to move into mobile phones. So are they kind of giving up on Xbox? Because that's what it feels like to me. Honestly, it does feel like they're hoping to get Game Pass on PlayStation or something, or on Switch. That's the only thing I can think of. It's weird.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I think they might likely to have Game Pass that, at the moment, Apple devices should be able to have Game Pass, which you can play off the app instead of a browser very soon. And I feel this is likely that they may turn around. If they say that you can stream Game Pass and say PlayStation on the Switch, we'll be totally fine with it, just as long as you don't buy the games as PlayStation games and instead of like streaming Xbox games. Because it just seems like if they release the games as the PlayStation games, then it's not going to be a lot of it going towards Microsoft. And people are just like saying like, well, you buy Call of Duty on PlayStation, it just means more money in Microsoft's pocket. But what I'm struggling to understand is like, recently I saw the video that Paramount is rumored to join Warner Brothers as they merge into one company. And that video is talking about why it's a bad idea for this to happen, because you have Cartoon Network, you have Nickelodeon, which are like competitors of children's animation. And if you have them under one roof, then it kills off the biggest competition, and you need competition to make really good shows. So if you
exactly. I was going to say, I'm a massive wrestling fan. Potato Pro Wrestling is my other channel. I do wrestling content. WWE bought WCW in the late 90s at ECW, and then they had no competition, and then they went shit. The early 2000s of wrestling were awful, like 2009, 2010, all that. They were pretty bad. And now AEW's come around as competition. They finally pulled their sleeves up. They're actually doing stuff properly again. Competition is a good thing. That's what I'm worried about, because I feel like this could, like, if there's no exclusives on Xbox going forward, why would people buy an Xbox? And then that means the Xbox brand is going to die and it'll just move to PC and mobile. And my main concern of that as well is what happens to my digital library? What happens to my games and stuff like that? Am I going to lose all my games? And am I going to have to use this piece of shit controller? I want to use an Xbox controller. I like having the offset sticks. I don't want to buy... If I got a PlayStation, I don't like playing on my PlayStation. I prefer to play on my Xbox. It's really concerning to me. It really is. I am concerned. And that's my main concern. It's going to kill competition. And that's a bad thing.
Well,
honestly.
if I lose Xbox and don't have any games anymore, then well, you know what? Screw it. I'm just sticking with my Switch and buy games.
Yeah, me too.
But then it's just like... well, it just means you no longer be able to enjoy games, because you just realise when Xbox is gone, then there's no point buying digital games. Because recently, PlayStation's took away the Discovery shows on it, which means they do have powers to take away games. In fact, this has happened before, because you have licensed games like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 Outrun and those games have been removed because the publishers' licenses have run out, which means
That's true.
if you have it as digital, the company has rights to it and they can remove it and you may not even get to download it. But if you have it on the disc, for instance, you can play this for a long time. And that's why it's really good to have virtual games. Like, you have Mega Drive, you have Super Nintendo. The only way to play the games is buy it on physical. Same with PlayStation 2. You can buy games, and people are still buying games for the PlayStation 2. Because the later generations, it's like you buy digital only. But it also means, like, in the next 10 or 20 years, you won't be able to play those games again. Because if you get it digital, you won't get it digital in the next 10 years. I mean, which is why, like, with the Nintendo Wii, I think there's certain games, like Mega Man 10, like, if you bought it and somehow the Wii shop went down, or the 3DS shop, you won't be able to download it again, which means the only way you can get Mega Man 10 is either getting the Mega Man Collection or Mega Man 10 on, like, Xbox, and you had to start over again. Whereas if you get Sonic 3 from the Mega Drive, you still own it, and Sega doesn't take it away from you. Even though they went down, I tell you, this has happened before. Sega used to build hardware, and then it all ended with Dreamcast after 2 years, that they decided to make games for PlayStation 2 and the Nintendo systems. But yeah, you still have those Sega games, you can play them, hence the people are still, like, enjoying Dreamcast, Mega Drive, and there's even an influx of Mega Drive collectors after they have collected so much for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as I said, my concern with this is that, like, because, like, I was quite happy to get everything digitally because I'm like, oh, Xbox is Microsoft. They're a massive they're one of the biggest companies in the world. They're never going to go bankrupt. There'll probably be an Xbox 7 and an Xbox 8 and an Xbox 9 and an Xbox 10, and they'll probably be around for like another 50, 60 years. But it feels like to me that this feels like a step out of, like I felt like, because they bought Bethesda, they bought Activision Blizzard, I thought they were more invested into the ecosystem, into the console, but it feels like the console is kind of going on the wayside to me. I feel like it's going to be PC and mobile going forward. And that, I'm not a mobile gamer, and I don't mind PC gaming, but I like console gaming, and I don't want to play all my Xbox games on my PlayStation. Honestly, I'd rather, it's weird. It's weird. I really don't.
It is.
Maybe
weird.
I'm panicking for no reason, but I'm hoping that basically next week he comes out and just goes, "It's all a lie. We have exclusives. PlayStation will never have these games."
That's annoying.
It's not happening, but I would love that if you did. If Phil Spencer came out and did that,
or they just announce a new Xbox console. But anyway, but yeah, as you were saying about it is weird because Microsoft is one of the biggest companies, and they've already bought out games companies, which thinks as if they're going to be a serious competitor. But then if they're just going to say, like, oh, we're bringing Xbox titles over the PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch, and you don't even need to have an Xbox account for it, then that will be one of the biggest cop-outs in the world, at least in the history of video games. Because it just means, like, well, if you can't beat them, join them and just give Halo and Master Chief to PlayStation. it's just...
Oh, I hope they don't. Because it feels like maybe we're panicking and getting ahead of ourselves, because this is like a timed exclusive. Essentially, exclusive games on Xbox, this rumor is essentially that they can become timed exclusives. Essentially, like Starfield, we had a year of exclusivity, and now it's going to be on PlayStation and stuff like that. Which is like, okay, that's still a selling point, but I don't know. It's when they're already losing to PlayStation. They felt like they were finally making up some ground, and they were actually making like some like leeway into the business. They had some exclusives. They were building up momentum. This feels like a completely, like, as I said, they're like almost like they pull it out, like they give it up. It feels almost like. I was like, it's fascinating that PlayStation's top games of 2023 on the digital storefront were Minecraft and the 2 Call of Duty games. Or that was 2022. Either way, the best selling games on PlayStation were Xbox third-party games with Minecraft and Call of Duty. So, I mean, they already are a third-party publisher, but I feel like we need exclusives, otherwise the competition is just going to die, and everyone's just going to move to PlayStation and Nintendo. Like, what's the point of an Xbox if you could get everything everywhere? It's bonkers.
Well, I think they've already moved over to PlayStation Switch, because I think what happened is, like, many years ago, thinking the PC market is going to be huge, Microsoft sees this opportunity to compete against Steam, and they feel like, okay, if I say bring Gears of War 5 or any of those games, not just as Xbox exclusives, bring to PC and you have them cross-buy. And I think that's what started this snowball, because, like, I was speaking to someone else online, and it's like, he brought up, like, the PlayStation 5 only, and it's like, well, you could get the Xbox. And they just said, like, well, since the Xbox games are coming on PC, you just only need the PC and the PlayStation 5 to play all the games. And I think that's what's causing people to, like, leave for those systems, because Microsoft
that's true.
feels as if, like, they're trying to go against Steam. But what happened in the end is that Halo Infinite, Master Chief Collection is on Steam, and many more games are coming to Steam, and now more and more people are like not approving of this Microsoft own backend for, like, games, and you need to use it if you pay for Game Pass. Like, and then they're just like, well, if they're having any problems with Windows, might as well buy them on Steam. And it just seems as if, like, Microsoft are not really, like, doing their job properly. Like, I think they've just been chasing up the wrong tree, and they should have been more aggressive to bring more games to Xbox and not having to worry about other systems like PC, for instance. And now they're just going into, like, the mobile space, which on the good side, it's more likely that Apple and Android, but iPhones and Androids and iPads is most likely going to have different app stores, and I feel this is something that Microsoft is going to be going against Google and Apple. And I think, for one, I think this is a really good thing, because it just means, like, you don't really have to stick to the kind of app ecosystem. Like, if you have Android, you have to stick with Google's App Store. Likewise, with iPhone, you had to stick with Apple's App Store. But when you have Microsoft's App Store in, it just means, you can, like, use that and something you can rely on, and just makes more competition. But then with the console market, with them going to digital sales, and I mean, here's what could happen is that if Microsoft starts to give Xbox games over to PlayStation, right? You have Switch as a handheld hybrid, and it's aimed at a younger audience. And then you have PlayStation, and it's been looked at as a default system. And if Microsoft bails out with Xbox, PlayStation is likely to degrade in quality. There's many other competitors like Google Stadia, which couldn't get through and folded. And then it just gets to the point where now you have Switch, PlayStation, PC, or mobile market as competitors. And if there's no competition, PlayStation could jump out, and Nintendo may even struggle to get through and may decide to do mobile games, and it condenses everything to PC and mobile. And if that ever happens, that the only way to play games is on PC or mobile, I'm totally out of it, and I don't want to enjoy games ever again, because it just seems like you're being pigeonholed, and that's all because people don't like competition and have to condense everything into it. I mean, you need competition to keep the consoles alive, otherwise consoles are just going to be relics, and you're not going to be able to enjoy games if you think you wouldn't be able to play the games again if they're going to be lost in the next 10 or 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, also, I was, because you were talking about PC and stuff, I was like, every Xbox exclusive is also on PC, but I feel like PC and Xbox are different enough that there's some people who are like, I'm never going to buy a console, I'm always on a PC, and there's other people who are like, oh, PC's too complicated, I want to just have a console, I want to sit back and play games. But Xbox and PlayStation are essentially the same thing. I mean, I know we're console war in here. I mean, Xbox has slightly better specs, but really, they're both boxes that you plug into your TV. They have pretty much the same games and the controller. If you remove a selling point of your box, then everyone's just going to buy the other box. Like, I feel like PC and Xbox are far enough apart that you have different markets for them. But PlayStation and Xbox are literally the same market that it's been. And having no reason to buy an Xbox apart from Game Pass is not good. Game Pass is a fantastic service, but it's not enough to carry the whole system. They need more than that. They need to keep games exclusive on the system. They can't give away all their exclusives. It's maddening. It's crazy. Like they do this in the Xbox 360 era and like the Xbox like classic era. They had exclusives. Like, that was why people bought Xbox. The original Xbox was the Halo machine. Like, the reason people bought an Xbox is because of Halo. Because it was exclusive. If Halo was on PS2, no one would buy a bloody original Xbox. Exclusives move boxes.
Exactly.
And it doesn't make sense to give no one... Like, there's going to be no reason to own an Xbox if you have a PlayStation going forward. I hope they don't go through this, and I hope they get some common sense. It feels like it's a short-term gain in profits for a long-term downturn. This is going to cost them way more in the future. Essentially, we'll make a bit more money on Starfield, selling it on PlayStation, but then you're going to lose money on Xbox because people are going to be all moving over to PlayStation because of that. So you're going to lose money in the long term just to make a little bit of money at the beginning.
Yeah.
Go. Sorry.
I think we're going to wrap this up because I think we definitely have we talked about it longer than we hoped it would be, but it's still a really huge, really impressive talk, and it really brings up the points, especially how we feel about digital sales and the competition. But,
yeah, definitely.
But we have to find out next week if Phil Spencer comes up with anything regarding the business update. But for now, we have to deal for the week and fearing for the worst that Xbox is going to turn up on PlayStation, but we don't know if it's ever happening. Because I think the best thing is it's just like me, who deals with general anxiety. Like, when it happens, you deal around it. The worst part of it is just like if you're made to wait until you find out what is about to happen, it gets worse and worse. So thanks.
Yeah, I suffer from it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know why you couldn't have just come out and said this is not true. That's my concern, is because he didn't just say this is not true. That's my worry, and now we've got to wait a week. We will hopefully have an update in a week's time. Once we know what's going on, we will do an updated version of this video, I assume. I mean, if we have chance. So thank you for watching us rant. What do you guys think? Are you happy? Are you a PlayStation owner that's happy that you're going to get all these games? As I said, I think in the short term it's good for PlayStation people, but in the long term it's going to be bad for them. So I just to put that out there. But anyway,
I think there's Sony commenters who like PlayStation, they will definitely go in a video and say, I think this is a good idea to increase the player base, but I imagine there's going to be flooded with comments with it because there's already people out there who are like digging into Xbox, and the moment it has any suggestion that we may see Halo and Xbox appearing on PlayStation, they think this will be a really fantastic idea, and when obviously, well, not really. I mean, the WCW and the WWF thing, that's really one of the best examples of this. And you definitely saw how it turned out.
Exactly. As I said, I'm hoping... He said next week he's going to give us clarification. I'm hoping he's going to be more... He's just going to clarify things forever, definitely, because I am fed up of having this conversation every time there's a new game announced. Is it coming to PlayStation? Is it coming to Xbox? Is it coming to Xbox and PlayStation? Blah blah blah. I just want it to be like, Phil, for fuck's sake, just put us out of our misery and just tell us what's going on. We don't need all this ambiguity anymore. It's getting on our nerves.
Anyway, we must end this. So thanks for watching, and until then, see you around.
Too sweet. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the X Marks the Box podcast. Follow us at X Marks Box on Twitter or X Marks the Box on YouTube. And follow us on all audio podcast services. Thanks for listening.